Hey, hey, hey. Hopefully, this is on live. I always like to kind of test myself a little bit, and I'm trying out some new software tonight for streaming this show. So it always adds just a little bit of extra pressure to doing all of this. And I've had a few weeks where streams haven't started, but hopefully we're live. Hopefully you can hear me. Good evening, Victoria. See you in the chat. I always know that Yvonne's in the room, so if she's came round and told me that everything's good. She's giving me the director's big thumbs up. Right, this is episode 9 now of my weekly streams. I never really set out to kind of have a weekly stream. I just kind of started it last year and then didn't have any for the first month or so of the year. And then I had some people message me and ask me about it. And now it's kind of turned into a little bit of like a weekly podcast. And I'll tell you, it is now Wednesday, the 29th of April, and it's gone 11 o'clock. I've started a little bit earlier tonight, really for two reasons. The first one is I've actually got quite a lot to talk about tonight that I wanted to cover, so might run beyond an hour. The second reason is just I figured that it's a wee bit easier on me in terms of sleep patterns and all these kind of things. So it's just before 11. Well, it's just gone after 11 o'clock. But episode 9. Right. Every week I try and tell you 3 big things that I'm going to include in the show, just to kind of the show. Listen to me. I'll tell you about my sponsors in a minute. I'm joking. There are no sponsors. 3 big stories that I want to tell you about this week, right? First one is I want to talk a little bit about one of my main investments who've just published their quarterly results, what I think about that. That's SoFi, and what kind of impact the results will have on my brokerage account, finance, and how I fund my life. Second one, which is probably the bigger of the stories so far, will be I have 2 big stresses, 2 major stresses that are hanging over me just now that I want to talk a little bit about in a bit more detail. And then the third part of all of this is a little bit lighter note, which is to say, I've met a lot of people in the last couple of weeks, and I want to talk a little bit about that as well. So, brokerage account, 2 stresses, and the people that we've met over the last couple of weeks. Right, so let's start this first and foremost. And good evening. Welcome, Sharon. Welcome, Victoria. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here. And everybody else that's watching, I can see the numbers just slowly starting to creep up. Feel free to say hello in the chat, give you a little shout out. A-Dash, hello. Ravish, hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Project Weaver, hello. All right. So, first of all, we're still in Bali. Hey there, Omar. How you doing? Nice to see you, mate. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate everybody coming a little bit earlier. That's really great. Thanks so much for all of that. Right, I'm trying this new software, right? So I need to figure out how to take things away again when they pop up. Hello, Julie. Didn't want to miss you. Thanks. Yvonne's here as well. Right, let me get going, right? Let me get going. We're in Bali, right? We're halfway through the trip. We leave on the 12th of May. It's end of April coming up now, right? Let me give you a little bit of an impression at this point. I love it here. Hello, Jenny, pal. How you doing? Nice to see you. I love it here. I think Yvonne loves it here. This has just had a completely different pace of life. If I was to rank the 3 of them locations, right? Malaysia. I think at this point for me, it would be Bali, number 1, Malaysia, number 2, and Thailand, number 3. And I think for Yvonne, that would, without speaking on her behalf, right? I think that would be Bali, Thailand, Malaysia. She's laughing. I've got that right, I think. Maybe Thailand and Bali are duking it out, but I think she's slowly starting to like here better. And of course, we have been in 3 locations, right? We've done Kuta Beach, we've done Ubud, and now we're in Sanur. And Sanur is the one. It is the one for us. We've extended, we're really enjoying it, and we've decided we're going to probably just spend the rest of the trip here because it's just landed right with us. It's got a buzz to it. Mr. Upgradable, hello and welcome. I'm trying out StreamYard tonight. I've tried a few of the other programs out, right? I've used OBS. Normally I just do a straight stream through YouTube, but I'm trying StreamYard tonight to see what it's like because I can do things like bring your message up on screen. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it, and then I can take it away again. And I like that little feature. So I'm trying just a couple of things out, but it's expensive, right? I think it's like £30 a month or something. So that's why it always puts me off. I've tried a few things. I digress. So Sanur is like the place right now for us. I'm really enjoying it. Right now, let me also say a couple of other little things, right? I want to say 2 thanks here. First of all, I've hit 110 followers on Patreon, which is phenomenal. I set a little goal that if I hit 100, I would increase the pricing, and everybody who was inside the 100 that were members, I would lock their pricing, grandfather you in. Is that the right term? Grandfather you in? Your prices will not change. So I've sorted that. Made a little bit of a mistake with it, but I've fixed it and I'm dealing with it. So, and then 10 other people have joined even since then, and the community is building. Now, the reason I say that, right, is a couple of things I want to talk about. YouTube right now is on hard mode. Now, I know there's a few people here that watch these streams that have YouTube channels or are thinking about it. And there was a big thing last year where people was making lots of videos saying, oh, YouTube's on easy mode, just start, right? And now it's on hard mode. And the reason I say this is not for me to like moan about this, right? I'm just sharing with you the realities of like having a channel and the ups and downs, right? Views across many big channels right now are plummeting. And there are reasons behind that. And it's not the creators, it's YouTube itself. And what's happened is since November, they've put a big push onto shorts. So actually on your home screen, when you go to watch YouTube, the number of shorts have increased and the number of spaces on the screen for long form has declined. So you've got people like, look, the biggest creator on the platform is a guy called Mr. Beast, right? Makes these huge production videos, mega millions of views. His channel is about 20 or 30% down. And that flows all the way right through. And I've seen that on my channel. Now, it would be easy to just be like, oh, people are just not watching the content and everything else. But there has been studies into what YouTube has changed. And they are so heavily pushing shorts. Now, I make shorts. I put some out for the channel, but I don't really enjoy it. Like, I don't get my message across in 40 seconds. And also it's like, it's so quick, right? It's crazy. And so this is where YouTube is at right now. And many creators, I was just watching a channel before I started this who were talking about the exact same thing. Now, why do I also mention that, right? Because then my Patreon helps me increase a little bit of revenue through people that have subscribed over there and support the extra content that I make. And where that also fits in a topic that I've talked about on Patreon itself is that my channel has reached a stage now where I'm getting a lot of offers to do advertisements. Now, I worked in sales, right? I did 30 years of sales. In the companies that I worked for, I always believed in the products. And I sold them because I enjoyed them. And I never worked for a brand that I didn't feel that I could get behind the product. And I kind of carry that same ethos into advertising on the channel. And so I've had a lot of offers and there's obviously money on the table, right? And I often, every month I do a roundup of what I spend and what comes in. And I cover how much I make on the YouTube channel. And for most creators, AdSense, which is the adverts, is the least paid part of earning on YouTube. And advertisements from partnerships is kind of the more lucrative. but the companies that are approaching me, right, that are asking me to like present things to the audience, I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I'm kind of, I've built the Patreon, which then gives me a top up, which I really just appreciate. But also, so there's a couple of things there, right? So thank you to the 110 people that have joined, newbies, people that have been in since January, since I started. I post on there pretty much every day something, and I've shared videos about how to start a YouTube channel, the kit that I use, how to edit videos, how I make my thumbnails, but also a lot of the kind of finance stuff, like how I fund my life and what travel's like. I host a live Zoom on there with various members. Anyway, so that helps top up. So it means that I can reject these offers from sponsorship companies and not try and make a few extra quid just for the sake of it. But also, then I just want to say thank you so much to the people that also just watch the channel, right? There are so many names of people that I feel like I recognize names and I recognize stories, and I think about things that people tell me. When Yvonne and I are traveling and we're showing things, I think about that, and also look at a regular topic, right? Is me talking about the passing of my dad. That comes up a lot for me because it was a big event in my life, and it has a running theme through things that I do. And I hear from other people who've lost partners, parents, etc. And I remember, like, I get emails from people that talk about this. Some that are quiet, that don't talk on the comments. Some that email me. Some that talk on the comments and email me, and all of that kind of stuff. And I remember that, but also just to say that I appreciate the people that come along and watch all of these. So even when YouTube is on hard mode, as many creators are talking about, I am very appreciative to the people that come along and watch all of this. So I just wanted to throw that in. Now, outside of that, because we've been in Bali and we've kind of been doing this trip around and moving around, I focus more on the content, and I haven't been doing my kind of regular one-to-one client calls, but I've got a couple of people lined up, and I have space for a couple that I'm going to work with in the next couple of weeks. So if you're thinking about all of this, like traveling, and you're thinking about your finances, and you just want to talk to somebody who's kind of doing it, and again, I'm not a guru or an expert, or I'm not a financial advisor, but just the strategy behind it, the thought, ask questions, positives, negatives. You can reach out to me. My email is always in the description. We can work it out. But that's it. That's like that chat over. Right. So SoFi announced the results today. That's a stock that I hold probably the most of in my portfolio. I use Interactive Broker as my main brokerage. I trade options on there, which is effectively indicating that you want to buy a stock and receiving a premium for it. That's called a cash secured put. And I also write covered calls, which is on stock that you hold, which is agreeing to let it go at a specific price at a time in the future for a fee. And depending on what happens with the price of that stock, sometimes you keep the fee and nothing happens. And sometimes you might let your stock go or you buy the stock. And I make money from that. And every month I do a roundup video to say, this is what I've earned and this is what I've invested and all of that stuff. And SoFi is the company I hold the most of. So they've just announced their Q1 results and they've smashed it out of the park, right? 40% growth, revenue growth, million plus new customers, blah, blah, blah. The only thing that they were a little bit questionable on was their EPS, which came in pretty much as expected. So they didn't boost it. They came in as expected, 12 cents. And the stock's crashed 6% in the market since it's opened. So my brokerage account, where it was recently sitting positive position, is now back in a negative position. And in a couple of days' time, I'll do a roundup video for the Patreon members to kind of share what that position looks like and what I'm thinking about it. But here on YouTube, in a few days' time, I'll do my April roundup and I'll share with you how much money I made on YouTube, how much money I made on savings, how much money I made on stock options, and then how much we've spent. Now, to bring that back a little bit to Bali, we have spent more this month than we would typically spend, right? Because it's been so hard not to drift into holiday mode. It really has. I've watched people talk about come here, right? And they're like, "Oh, the islands, it's got a magical feel to it." And see now that we're walking around Sanur, it definitely has like it just has a different vibe here. It's got a different pace, and we've liked the pace. Um, so we've been doing that for I think we got here last Friday. It's Wednesday now. The apartment we're staying in, this one, we've extended it twice since we've got here. Extended the stay twice. So it's such a nice spot and A dash, yep, completely agree. Lovely place. Exactly. Only drawback has been the traffic. Do you know a lot of people are saying that the attendance makes that sound like a concert, right? But the attendance here in Bali is down. I've seen a lot of videos recently of like there's a guy that actually just covers Sanur, an Australian guy, and he's been talking about how the numbers are down. Yvonne and I were out today on the beach and it was empty. And so the traffic in this area has been much quieter, much quieter. But Ubud was busy and Kuta was the busiest of the three, right? So McTav, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. All is well between us. Thank you. It's felt it's felt hotter here in Sanur than Ubud. I think that's maybe I would have expected it because you're at the coast, bit more of a breeze, right? Um, that it would have been cooler here, but it's actually felt hotter here since we got here. JW 100 UK, hey John, just bucked up for Sanur. You've made a wise choice doing 6 days in Ubud, then 5 days. I think that's a very good split. I think that's a very good split. I loved Ubud. Right, listen, you all kind of know me by now, right? The people that watch this channel, you know, like I can have a hint of sarcasm, my Scottish sarcasm. My glass is half empty, half full. Scottish people, it's always half empty. So a bit of a hint of sarcasm here when I say this, right? But Ubud, right? Ubud is kind of aimed at middle-aged, well-off people who are probably vegan that like yoga and are very particular about the things that they want and like. And it made for some spectacular people watching. Yvonne and I went into this, like there's so many like little health restaurants, right, where you go in and you can order um, your blueberry bowl, and your yogurt and your special kind of yogurt and your latte with bloody wild goat's milk or whatever, right? You can get you can get that in Ubud. We were in a restaurant watching this. I couldn't tell if it was a couple or whether it was a son and daughter. Son and daughter, son and mother. So I couldn't tell if they were a couple. Yvonne said they had wedding rings on. I thought it was a son and mother, and it was just they came into the restaurant. They were showing the tables, like what was available. They walked around the restaurant. Then they went outside and went upstairs to the outside decking because they wanted to sit out. Then they came back downstairs into the restaurant and they went and sat in the corner. Then they got up and moved to a table in the middle of the restaurant that then had a wobble on it. You know, they got the wobbly table and they were like the woman was like rocking it back and forth. And then they moved to a couch position. And I was like, that sums the whole thing up, right? You know that they're going to ask for like sorry, where are the edamame beans sourced from? Are they pesticide free? Can you show me the instructions like those people? So that's Ubud. A lot of people in Lululemon tights kind of thing, right? I think I said it in a video. But see when Coachella's done, right? See all the Instagram girls, the people, the influencers that go to Coachella, they go to Ubud afterwards for a rest. Sanur, however, is more like your kind of middle-aged, just getting by kind of people that are there for the chill. There's not much of a but like there's no bar culture. It's got a health aspect to it. The beach is nice. It feels more like it feels more like not your Aussies or your US or Brits. It feels more like like other people that are traveling. A lot of locals seem to go there, and it carries that kind of vibe to it, and we like that. We like it. And we've joined the gym. There's a gym nearby. We've gone to it and signed up, right? So we've been going there the last couple of days. We've only got a 1 week pass, and it was like £17 for the week each, and it's 4 floors. It's like a hardcore gym. It's got one of those like high rocks or whatever it's called rooms inside it. We're not doing classes. We're just doing weights. It's got a swimming pool. It's got the cold and hot plunge. Now, see the cold plunge, right? I said to Yvonne, I'm going to get in that. Let's have a go. I gave Yvonne the camera to video it, right? Just because, like, in my head, right, with things like that, cold plunge, see if you get in it and you time yourself and you get a time, but you haven't videoed it. Did it even happen? Right? So, got to video it. I get in the cold plunge now. It's got this big, thick mat over the top of the plunge, and it's to keep the temperature, it's to keep the cold in. The hot one's just opened and it's like a bath, right? The hot one that was like a hot bath. So I lift the lid off of the cold plunge and I set it up against like a metal rail, and then I climb in the cold plunge and I don't notice, but the lid actually comes over and cracks me on the side of the head. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you all right?" Now, I was probably kind of concussed. But the gym, there was people in the gym who could have seen this happening on the treadmills and the exercise things, who must have been like, "Look at this absolute bell end." Whilst this thing came over and cracked me on the head, trying to get out, trying to get in the bloody cold plunge. And I was in it for like 10 seconds and then I was out and in the hot tub. And then I went back in. Once I'd secured the lid, I went back in and did 30 seconds. And then I was in the sauna and a guy in there told me he'd been in it for 4 minutes. And I was just like, God, if you've been to Tenerife, there's always somebody that's been to 11 Reef, isn't there? So that was that. That was that happened. Right, what have I got here? Hey, John, love the content. Nice to hear a fellow Scottish voice. Hello, Chiang Mai Charlie. I love that name. That's a great name that you've secured that. Thanks for joining us, mate. We were going to, so Sidemen, Siddaman, right? I think that's how the pronunciation of one was keeping me right. Siddaman. We were going to go to Siddaman. We had looked at accommodation, but the weather was due to absolutely batter it down with rain. And so we changed our minds because we heard it's like out in the rice fields, and when it rains, you're pretty much just flooded in. So we thought we'll give that a miss. And the weather here, it rained last night here in Sanur, bounced it down. But this is a nice little apartment we're in, so we're enjoying that. So, right, first big story that I was going to cover is the SoFi thing. So it's gone down in price today. Market is it's dropped like 6%. My brokerage account has gone into a negative position again. Not worried. Just let it ride out. They smashed it. Million new customers, 40% revenue. What more do you need? So today we met up with another viewer of the channel, Paul Anderson, Paul Creative Anderson. That's his Instagram handle. It's a bit of a photographer. Great eye. So I've been chatting with Paul for a while, and we met up with him and his wife, Cheryl, and we had a nice coffee, tea, hung out for a little while, and that was great because we've met so many people here in Bali who either watched the channel or have been following the content or have reached out to us. That's been a little bit weird. I'll tell you, we were in Ubud, right? And I went to buy that shirt, right? Obviously, the shirt was like a hot topic in the comments and the video the last couple of days. Everybody saying nice shirt right now. Let me tell you this about this shirt purchase, right? I go into the shop to buy a vest top, and Yvonne's like, "Oh, that's a nice shirt." So I try the shirt on, and I'm like, "Oh, that looks kind of cool. I'll just buy it, right?" So I buy it and the vest top, and then I put it in the bag, and we travel over here to Sanur. And then I'm going to go, this is Sunday, we're going to go and meet Kelly and Adam, viewers of the channel, Patreon members. I'm like, yep, we'll meet up with them. And I'd said to Kelly, do you fancy doing a wee a wee interview on on the channel with us?" And he was like, "Yep." So I take the camera with us, do all the prep work, do the camera, put the shirt on, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't look good in this." Like my mind is already changed, right? Feel like it's too short, no liking the colours. And I'm like to Yvonne, "I'm not sure about this." And Yvonne's like, "It looks good on." I'm like, "Nah, nah, my mind's gone. I've lost it. Like I've wasted this purchase, right? Shouldn't have bought it." So anyway, Yvonne convinces me. She's like, "Just leave the shirt on, let's go." So we leave and we go and meet Kelly, right? We have lunch first, and then we go to do the interview. Now, see, when we have the lunch, we're just chatting, right? We finish lunch, pay the bill, and we're walking out the front door. And there was a table of like three women and three men. They were probably, I would have said maybe late 20s, early 30s, right? Kind of, maybe, I think from the accent, Aussies. And we're walking out, and out of nowhere, this woman just goes, "Great shirt," right? Now, look, there's 39 people in here, right? If there's half of those are men, if half of this audience is a man, right? You'll know how rare it is to just get an off the cuff compliment and even what to do with that compliment, right? Never mind a table of like three women and three men, and one of them just going, "Great shirt," as you walk through. I'm like that. In my head, I'm like, did Yvonne set this up? Like she, like what's going on here? So when we walk out the restaurant, I'm all like smiles, and Yvonne's like, "What are you smiling at?" And I was like, "That woman there just said great shirt." She's like, "I've been saying this all day, and now you take the compliment from a stranger, but you don't take the compliment for your wife." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're my wife. I kind of expect a compliment when it comes from a stranger." Right now, what I'm saying to the men here in this room is compliments are so rare that when you get one in your life, you remember it forever. Men remember women get compliments all the time. "Your hair looks nice," or "That dress looks good on," or "Your makeup looks good today." That happens regular, right? So I'm again, slight Scottish cheek and sarcasm and all this, right? Because Yvonne's listening over there. But that happens to women all the time. To a man, right? You never hear a compliment like that. So I come outside and I'm like, "Oh, got a compliment there." I'm like, "Oh," and I'm saying to Kelly and Adam, "You know what it's like, boys. Men never get compliments." So, exactly, no, we normally think it's sarcasm. I had to ask I was like that to women. What? I went all kind of semi-Scottish defensive. Like I'm waiting for the joke. Like in Scotland, you're always waiting for the joke that comes at the back of it, right? Anyway, she was serious, and I appreciated it. And then obviously I post the video, and everybody's in the comments like, "Nice shot." And Yvonne's just sitting there like, "I told you." So thanks to everybody that mentioned the shirt in the comments. And Kelly, poor Kelly, was like panicking, right? We went for dinner last night, and he'd been checking all the comments because he was like panicking about what people might say. Right. This is what I forget about this stuff. Like I'm on here all the time talking to you, and I get all the comments, right? I get the good, I get the bad, I get all of that, right? You just get used to it. I have to have a thick skin having a YouTube channel. But I kind of forget that Kelly's like, he's new to all of this. So I'm just chatting away to him. And then afterwards, it's in his mind, like, what are people going to say? And his mate, Adam, was winding him up by saying, "Oh, there's 5 new comments came in. Do you want me to read them out?" Like noising him up about the comments, right? But everybody, that video was well received with Kelly on board. We did that just straight off the fly, like no edit. We just started the conversation, and it was really good fun to chat to him. And it made me laugh, right? Because it's Kelly and Adam, 2 friends since work, and now they've got girlfriends out in Thailand, and they're traveling around the last 4 years and all that, right? So 2 mates, very fortunate to have a mate that you're able to do that kind of stuff with and just, go and live life. do a bit of traveling and all that. But it made me laugh, right? Because I've said on this channel multiple times, if you want to define Yvonne and I's characters, personalities, I'm 30 years in sales, right? The chat, the gift of the gab, the banter. And Yvonne is 30 years in IT, shy and quiet, retiring one, right? And Kelly, sales, Adam, IT. Sums it up perfectly. Right. See, on this point, Anne, Kelly seemed a natural. Totally agree. Now, we sat down and had a conversation about YouTube, and I said to him, do you not fancy starting a channel? You could just start at any time. You do all this travel, well experienced, share some of your knowledge. And he's like, I don't know, I don't know. Now, I am thinking about buying a camera, right? Going to bring this back to myself again. I'm thinking about buying a camera. I take a lot of photos, take a lot of pictures when I'm traveling, and I do it on my phone. My dad was a photographer in his later life, talked about this. My dad had loads of cameras, lenses, everything. All of that went after he passed away. But my dad and I, we share a similar eye, right? You know, when I'm making videos, I'm thinking about it. And my dad had the same kind of mindset. And I've been thinking about getting a camera. And Yvonne will know that I've talked about this for years, and I've really struggled to make the purchase, to follow it, to follow through and go and buy the thing, because I spend like that. My ADHD brain leaves me paralyzed with the choice of lenses and cameras and everything else and the cost. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend that money. So I've been using my phone. And I've reached a stage recently where I'm kind of at the peak of what I can take on my camera. I take a lot of like street photography stuff, like walking around Ubud, and a lot of like people just, living their lives, getting on with things. I love that kind of stuff, just little snapshots of moments in time. And I've really been loving doing it. I go out with Yvonne in the evening, especially around like Kuala Lumpur, and I'll just take like a lot of city shots. So I've been thinking about getting a camera. Anyway, I'm talking to you now on a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and I also had a DJI Action 5. And I said to Kelly, I'm thinking about buying this camera. And the mindset that I'm trying to get into is that if I'm going to buy something, I need to now let something go. I can't keep carrying more things, right? Because we're trying to live this minimalist life. So would you like to buy the camera? So he took a couple of days to think about it. And yesterday he was like, bring the camera. We'll talk over dinner. So I brought my little DJI camera, my little waterproof camera, and I sold him it. He bought it from me, right? So I'm like, that, great. I've got a little bit of money, and now I'll put that towards maybe the purchase if I decide to do it. So I kind of feel like I'm another foot, a step closer to actually having to do it. See, right after I sold him it, this camera, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, has started to kind of malfunction. I've got an open ticket with DJI to try and talk to their tech team, because when I turn it on, it's not coming on. And then sometimes it comes on and it's in vertical mode, and I'm trying to film in horizontal mode. And I don't know if there's like a little magnet inside it. When I looked it up, there's a known fault that the magnet knocks loose. And I'm like, oh God. So now I'm like, I've sold the other camera that I would have used in the meantime, and I'm trying to hope that this one's working okay. But Kelly's gone away to maybe start his YouTube channel, and maybe but if I can get over the hump, of making the purchase, when I get back to Kuala Lumpur, I might buy a camera, but I'll see. So we'll see how that goes. Get a camera and make some travel books. Yeah, I probably will. I do love the photography stuff. Like, it's just something that I've been doing for quite a while. I keep little folders, little books of places that we go to, and I take the pictures. I don't really post them to Instagram. I took a shot the other day that I am so proud of. Like, I caught this family on a bike, right? Just on a little moped. And just that kid who was looking at me at the exact, this is on my iPhone. I shot this on my iPhone. The whole family's looking up the street, waiting to pull out and get home after their busy day at work. And just that little kid's face who was just staring at Yvonne and I. Right after I took that shot, he gave Yvonne and I a little wave, and then off they went. And the family didn't know I took that shot. And I was so pleased with the camera shot. Afterwards, I was editing it, and I was totally buzzing about how much I had enjoyed it. And so, yeah, I'm actually looking at a Sony A7C2, I think it's called, is the camera that I'm considering. But I just cannot get over the hump of buying it. But there's a lot of like mental rent between the connection to my dad and his hobby and this for me, that kind of sticks in my throat a little bit. So I just need to get over that. Isn't that weird, the kind of mental games that you play in your head when it comes to these things, when there's connections and all of that? But Kelly's gone away with the camera. They've moved locations today. They're away to another part of Kuala Lumpur. They're away to another destination within Bali to try out some new areas. So that's one side of like this travel stuff that, you know, people who travel and live in different locations know this stuff, right? But you make friends quickly with people, and then they move on, and then that's the end of it. But you've got to kind of think about it like, we'll see you somewhere else in the world at a different time. You know, maybe it'll be Vietnam, maybe it'll be Thailand, whatever. But you kind of spark up a connection with people. And Kelly and Adam, we had a great couple of days, like 3 days, catching up with them, going for dinner, we went for tacos last night. And that was good. And then today I met with Paul and Cheryl, and we sat and had tea and coffee, and I've met up with some other people. So see, when I was buying the shirt, came outside with Yvonne and Ubud. There was an ice cream shop across the other side of the street, and a man who was eating his ice cream just shouted, "YouTuber!" and pointed at me. And Yvonne was like, what the F was that? And I'm like, I know, that's just weird. Just a guy like licking his ice lolly just went, "YouTuber." And I was like, well, there you go, right? How weird is that? That feels very weird to me. I'm not used to that yet. I don't think you should get used to that. That's a weird feeling. And then we travel over here to Sanur. We're out for dinner on the first night, and we're walking back. Now we're in a wee back street, right? We're about 500 meters from the beach, but it's actually longer. Like all apartment complexes in Sanur tell you are like 500 meters from the beach, but they don't tell you it's as the crow flies. When you actually get out and into all the little streets, it's way longer, right? But you just roll with it, right? So we're in these wee side streets, motorbikes coming through. Can you see that flash behind me? Don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? That's been going off like every night, multiple times. And I said to Yvonne last night, I jumped up and I was like, "There's a flash." I've just seen it over my shoulder there. I've no idea what that is. So you're cutting through these wee side streets, and then you get to the beach, right? So we are walking back from the beach on our first night here. And Yvonne and I are at one side of the road, and there's a guy at the other side of the road. And we're walking in the same direction. And the guy at the other side of the road turns around to us and goes, "Where are you from?" And I went, "Scotland." And he went, "I watch your YouTube channel." He's like, "I was walking behind you there, and I was pretty sure it was you, but I just wanted to ask you where you were from to hear your accent." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." That blows my mind, right? Because my videos get like 1,000 views, and I feel like I've met like 1,000 people in Ubud. So it's just got to, or bloody Bali. It's got to be everybody in Bali's watching them. So his name was Robbie, and he was from West New South Wales. And this is why I remembered this, right? Because he said to me, after he said, "I watched the channel, I watched loads of YouTubers that talk about this travel stuff." And I'm like, "How you doing, Robbie?" Shook hands, said, "Thanks for watching the videos." He said, "Do you watch Still Game?" Now, come on, how many people in this chat, right? There's 43 people in here. How many of you know what still game is? So he was asking me about still game. And Yvonne started telling him about Burneston and all these other Scottish TV shows, but he loved Still Game. And we were talking about Jack and Victor. And that just gave me a wee chuckle. I write these things down like as they happen during the week, right? I'm out of my phone. Every time something happens, I write it down so that I can remember to tell you, because otherwise I'd show up with no stories every week. So I jot all this stuff down and then I have them here so that I can remind myself. But that cracked me up. So Robbie from New South Wales, who watched Still Game, was asking me about it and watches the channel. I thought that was quite funny. So there you go. And Anne watches a bit of Still Game. Good evening, Richard, mate. I hope you're good. Thanks for joining us. No one needs to be recognised from YouTube. It's just weird. Wait till it happens, mate. You'll be out in Vietnam and somebody will be like, I watch your YouTube. And then you'll be like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So yeah, Paul and Cheryl that we met today. Great story. Now, I did say to Paul, do you want to talk on the camera? And he was like, nah. So you've got to respect people, right? I carry the camera with me. After the Kelly, call it the Kelly incident, after the Kelly interview, I thought, well, I'm meeting up with Paul today. Messaged me through Instagram, watches the channel, said, do you want to meet up? We're in Sanur. Yep. So I took the camera with me. I didn't check it with him beforehand. But when we sat down, we were chatting. I said, look, do you want it? And he was like, nah. And I, no problem. So Yvonne and I sat today with him for 3 hours, just chatted about life. Paul and Cheryl left the UK, sold everything right now. A lot of these stories always resonate. Paul's mum passed away. His dad was in his 80s on his own. Paul and Cheryl were looking after his dad. And then his dad passed away. And they bought an RV, they bought a camper van, and they were kind of living in they sold their house, sold all of their possessions. They were living in the camper van. The camper van is still in the UK and they're traveling, and he's done 90 countries. He's done 90 countries. So impressive, right? Just telling us stories from them all today. Just been in China. Now they're here for like a month or something. We sat and had tea and coffee today. It was a great chat. Really pleasant to just sit and talk to folk. And it always, like, then when you're finishing, right, when you're like, look, we're going to head to the gym. Thanks so much. Met you, got a wee hug and all that. I had a nice wee hug. And we were heading off, and it was like, just a great couple. Super nice to chat to. We're sharing some stories. So that was really nice today. Really enjoyed the chat. But 90 countries. And what they do now, right, is sold the house, sold the possessions, invested the money into maxing out their ISAs, and they pick up the monthly interest from those ISAs, and they pretty much live off of that. And what they've got is they've both got pensions to come, and they're living on the savings between now and the pension, and then the pension will keep them going beyond all of that. And I was saying to Paul today, any ambitions to go back to the UK? And he was like, nah, just going to keep traveling. And I was like, wow, that's fascinating. It was just so interesting. And it's, it's inspiring to Yvonne and I. I made the video yesterday talking about things that you miss, right? It was a question from Carol Marie. I'd said Marie on the video. Carol, Marie, and Stephen. And she was asking about things that you miss. And I've kind of spun that slightly and talked about my position on those things, right? Talked about family and everything else. All of that is unique to you, right? Like, you'll be the one that decides whether you miss friends and family or the food or culture and all that kind of stuff. But also, I did say twice in the video that I can only give you that perception, my view of that 8 months out, right? I'm not trying to kid you on that I know the answer for the rest of the time. I could only really state that that's just a snapshot in time. But 8 months out, do we think about the UK? No. No. And Sanur has just been so pleasant to walk around. The food, like, we're definitely spending more. But I'll see when I haven't looked at it, right? because I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about it. But we've definitely spent more. Not so much in accommodation, but just general living. Like the gym. The gym has got a restaurant downstairs and it's excellent. It does like right, slight slight change of topic for a second, right? Have you ever heard the noise a gecko makes? We have a gecko living outside the room and it's just made the noise now. And it makes this little, it kind of sounds like a squeezy toy or like a broken car alarm going, oh. It does that like 5 times and then it makes a wee noise at the end. It happened the other night and Yvonne and I were like, what the hell is that? And then Yvonne went on and did a whole search of like noises of different animals, and we discovered it's a gecko. And there's one that's living outside. It just did it there. Now the microphone and the software is going to limit like background noise. You shouldn't hopefully hear the hum of the fridge freezer that's right next to me. But the gecko just did that and it sprung into my head. If you've never heard that noise, like go onto YouTube and type in like sound of a gecko. It's like it's like that. I think I nailed that, by the way. What was I talking about? Can't remember. Right. Distracted. Now, we saw another bike accident when we were on the way here. We were in the taxi from Ubud to Sanur, which is like an hour, cost £11. Oh, budgets. I was telling you about budgets. We've definitely blown the monthly budget, right? The 1,500 quid monthly budget, long out of the window. I mean, I'm not saying we're at like 5 grand or something, but we're probably about 2, maybe 2.5. But it's been worth it. It's been worth it because we've enjoyed it. But that's what makes me think we're here for a month. And it's called Paradise, right? So if you go into Google and you type in Paradise Gym or Paradise Sanur, it'll come up. Scott, when you walk in the front door, it's a restaurant and a bar. And see the bar, right? Check this out. This is the kind of marketing I can get behind, right? See the gym, see the bar. It says gym and tonic. Genius marketing, right? You've got to love that. But see the restaurant, it makes such good food. So you can get like pre-workout protein shakes, post-workout protein shakes. You get all your kind of avocado. Like I had a couple of beef patties, some avocado, some broccoli, and some white rice after the gym tonight. Yvonne had a little bowl. Yvonne had like a protein shake and what is it called? A young coconut. A young coconut. The coconut juice inside. So good and cheap, right? Like, so dinner for us is like £20. That sounds like kind of expensive, to be honest. But we're being a bit posh with this stuff, right? But a great restaurant. So gym and tonic below the gym. And then you go upstairs and then it's another 3 floors of exercise stuff that's up there. And yes, the drivers are wild here. So we were in the taxi traveling from Ubud over here and there was another motorbike accident. So that's the 4th motorbike accident we've seen now. One, the person's never coming back from it. That's ingrained in Yvonne and I's skull. And the other 3 were kind of minor, but accidents. And people keep saying to me, "Oh, get a bike." And I'm like, nope. I've spent enough time in hospital already since being away without adding a bike issue into this. Right. On that note, let me tell you about story number 2. 2 stresses that I'm carrying just now that I think I want to tell you about, just to give you a bit of an update. I need to think about how to say this. Let me tell you about stress number 1. For those that have been watching the videos, you will remember that when I sold my dad's house, I got a bill from Scottish Power and a bill from British Gas. I've resolved the Scottish Power and I'm still My dad's house was sold in September. It's April, nearly May. Still in dispute with British Gas over the bill. I'm now in full ombudsman complaint positioning. I've done the 8 weeks. I've waited, right? BG, at one point, 2 members of customer service staff were sending each other emails, telling each other to just pay me off and make me go away with me on copy. I was getting sent the email by 2 members of staff who are dealing with my dead dad's account, telling each other to just give me money and make me go away, but not actually doing it. And I can't tell you how mad it made me. They were also calling me by my surname in capitals with no first name. Scottish Power, if you remember, just called me Mr. Insert Customer's Name here. This company are just calling me by my surname, no first name, capitals, and then arguing between departments to just tell me, just to get rid of me, and emailing that to me. And it's annoyed me. It's annoyed me, right? So I got to the stage where I've wrote to the ombudsman. My case has been accepted. It went to BG, and BG came back and made an offer to just pay me off and make me go away. And see, in the offer, even in the offer, right? So the way that this works, right, is that you contact the ombudsman reviews your case, your paperwork, and then if they accept the case, they contact BG, and then BG gets the opportunity to contact you and try and resolve it. But they also then have to submit a response to the ombudsman to say what they're going to do to fix it, right? That's the process. Now, in my communications to BG, I said, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I'm in another country and the times are so wild. I just want you to email me. They then called me 8 times. On one day, they called me 5 times in the middle of the night. 5 times consecutively, ring, ring, ring. And I'm like, it's in the case to not call me. So I didn't speak to them, which meant they then had to send an offer to me and to the ombudsman to confirm how they were going to close this case out. And see, when they did it, they didn't update the template. So it had all these bits in it that were like, insert the date here and insert this here and put, so that's them replying to the ombudsman. And that's how serious they took it. And they offered me £150 to close the case down. Now, that's technically a fair offer. It's kind of what I expected. But I rejected it just out of principle, just to let the ombudsman read the case. Now, I used to work for British Gas, right? And I used to work for Scottish Power. Worked for them both, so I kind of know these processes. And I know that there will be a KPI report internally that talks about how many actual ombudsman's complaints there are currently open against the company. And that's, they have to report that, right? It has to actually be in their quarterly reports. And so I thought, I could close this now and it's done, and I can accept 150 quid and just move on with life. And I thought, fuck it. Nah. I'm just going to let it carry on a bit longer. Like, I've got time. And if British Gas won't probably have to do any other work right now. The ombudsman now has to adjudicate. I've had to state why I'm rejecting it. And I've said, and now the ombudsman will read it and then make a decision. Now, the ombudsman is probably just going to read it and say, yeah, 150 quid. Might say 200, might say 250. Who knows? The money is not important. It's not about 150 quid. It's about the piss poor handling of a bereavement by a company that's supposed to be like one of the big 5 in the UK for energy. And I just thought, well, so I've talked about this in videos, right? And I like to try and bring these things, like recap on them as to where I'm at so that I don't just disappear, leave you hanging on these stories. So the British Gas complaint on behalf of my late father, who died in May of 2024, and I told them 2 days after he died what was happening, and here I am in April of 2026 still trying to close the account down. That water jug just splashed up and hit me in the eye there. I'm not crying. You're crying. I'm not crying. That was the water. Right. So, no offers to be accepted. Get a solicitor. The ombudsman now will make the decision, right? And I'll tell you when this is done what that decision was. But I'm so insulted by how they've handled it. Just poor, right? Somebody's just said SoFi's dropping like a rock. Let's have a look. I think the whole market's dropping like a rock. Let's have a wee look. Oh, yeah, 1574. Oof, brutal. Not as low as it's been in recent weeks, but that just says to me good opportunity to buy or write a stock option. Right. I said there was 2 stresses, and this second one is more important, and I have to be very careful about how I talk about this. The insurance debacle about my health, right? So, a very quick recap. Fell ill in October, needed surgery, needed a second surgery, contracted sepsis, £13,500 bill, insurance company, filed the claim, denied on Christmas Day, told that the denial would be added to a portal that I could read. It was actually just updated on the 17th of April as to what the denial was. I fought it. I went through a complaints process. It was rejected once. Went through the complaints process again. It was rejected twice. Went through the complaints process again. On the third time, final time, 2 of the incidents were overturned, and I was paid about £4,500. So I'm currently out of pocket the remainder. And I challenged the company, and they said, we're no longer willing to engage with you. You now need to go through arbitration. I filed the arbitration documentation months ago, never heard anything. Followed up with the arbitration company, and they came back and said, we've contacted the company. The company themselves have accepted that they've been contacted by arbitration. The company then have been challenged by the arbitrator because something in the policy, the policy that's sold to me as a consumer, the arbitration company said, that's not accepted. You're going to have to drop that terms and conditions because it is not consumer friendly. So before the arbitration case has been accepted, the arbitrator has a major problem with something that's in the terms and conditions that they are saying, nope. Now I've got to be so careful at what I tell you because I'm in the arbitration. The arbitrator is named in the insurance company's policy, right? Just stick with me on this for a second, right? The arbitrator is named in the insurance company's policy as the arbitrator who would have to handle arbitration. As I was filing the arbitration, the insurance company said, we would like you to use this company over here. And I said, why? And they were like, it will just be quicker to handle your case. And I said, how do you know the timescales with the other company? And they didn't. And I said, so can I still use the other company, the one that's named in your policy? And they said, yes. So see this company over here, Indian startup company that nobody's heard of before. So I didn't do that. I went with the arbitration company that's named in the paperwork. And I filed, and the arbitration company has written to the insurance company to say, we don't have any record of you filing your terms and conditions with us So you're going to need to do that. And to do that, you're going to need to pay a fee. And when we've reviewed your terms and conditions, there's one clause in it that we are not willing to accept. You'll have to drop that for this case. And then some days ago, the insurance company come back and said, we're willing to drop that one clause as requested for this case, but only for this client. And the arbitration company has said, no, this rule will apply to all customers, all consumers of your policy going forward. And the insurance company is yet to answer that question. And then this morning, I got an email from the insurance company. Now, see, in all of this, the arbitrator has said there is a deadline of the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars, all that stuff, right? The 4th of May is the deadline day. If the insurance company doesn't pay the fee and doesn't file the terms and conditions and disclose everything and accept the dropping of one clause, the case falls apart and I'll get nothing. I would have to go through a court case and get a lawyer, everything else that goes with it, and that's a different discussion. But the arbitrator has said, and the insurance company, in fairness to them, is saying, nope, we'll file this, we'll do everything, we'll have it in by that date. But this morning, I got an email from the insurance company to the arbitrator to ask them to change the name of who the case is being filed against. So you've got the insurance company's name, and then there's like a parent company name, and the insurance company is asking to change the name of the case to something completely different. And I've had to then object to that because, as I understand it, if I accept this, and the arbitrator's not there to question this, right? This is just, if I accept, they'll change the name and that's it. However, if I then go on to win the case, this entity that they've changed the name to may not have any funding in it to pay out the claim for me, and therefore the case would also collapse. So that's where I'm at with the insurance company. I'm thousands of pounds out of pocket. I went through an incredible physical and mental stress for months of dealing with this. I've done all the paperwork myself, hundreds of documents, done it all online. I've challenged the complaint, challenged the decision 3 times and won 2 parts of it, leaving one deciding part. And now I'm at the stage, this is like, it's like a complete war of attrition. And I am mentally exhausted at trying to just get to this point of like arbitration. And this year felt like it started differently, more positively, and feeling like the health changes and all that. But this is just in the back of my brain niggling away. And the emails always come in at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I just can't see these things and not deal with them. So I'm up to like sitting up to 3, 4 in the morning, researching and doing all sorts to try and challenge it. And I just feel like I'm still having to pay the bill. I'm still paying the bill now. I have to pay the bill every month because as far as I understood it, if I cancel the contract, it can be viewed as a hostile act by the insurance company, and it would go against my character with the arbitration company. So I'm having to like keep paying, and I've had to pay for the arbitration, and the insurance company is doing everything they possibly can to just put me off. And it's it's been pretty wild. It's been pretty wild. So I don't know how much longer this is going to take. They've got to the 4th of May, right? Today's the 29th. It's the 30th now. And they'll need to confirm. Now, I've then gone back today and said, here's 2 questions. Who is the owner of the policy. Now, see in the terms and conditions, I've gone through the terms and conditions. It names the legal entity that would be responsible for arbitration. They're trying to change that name away to somebody else. And I'm calling that into question, and I'm waiting on a response, and the time is ticking down. And all I've got from all of this, right, is a hell of a story. A hell of a story to tell you at the end of all of this, because I've kept a timeline of everything that's happened from like day one of falling out and contacting them. I've had 6 case handlers, and the hours that's gone into all of this. Right. That's enough on that. I just wanted to share a little bit with you on that. So 2 major stresses that have been hanging with me, and it's British Gas and the insurance battle that just rages on, and I can't wait to be done with it. And I was talking to Paul and Cheryl today, and they don't have any insurance. You just deal with things when it comes along, and I think that's actually the way I'm going to go moving forward, because I just have no trust in these companies, none. Like they're just so difficult to deal with, so difficult to deal with. Right, pretty wild. Let me see what else I've got going on. We went for this different topic, right? Went for dinner the other night, and we're in this nice restaurant, and there was a guy playing guitar. He was playing Oasis, right? Because again, if you follow this channel, you know that's a reoccurring theme for Yvonne and I. There's always like a song from our past. He was playing Oasis, singing away, and the waiter is come up to and chatting to Yvonne and I. They're like, "Oh, you on holiday?" And we're like, "No." Everybody wants to know where you're from, and we're like, "Oh, Scotland." So when you say Scotland, people are like, "Oh, Scotland, oh, yeah, what you on holiday?" And we're like, "No, we're traveling. We're just kind of moving around." So the waiter was like, he was a Balinese lad. He was like, "Rangers or Celtic?" He's like, "Rangers or Celtic," right? And I'm like, "Ah." So we start talking about Scottish football. Now, just very briefly on this, the end of the season in Scotland, there's like 3 games left or 4 games left, and Heart of Midlothian are top of the table. Celtic are in second and Rangers are in third. And at the weekend, it was all moving around. It's the closest finish to a season as long as I can remember, apart from the year where the helicopter was flying around. But it was funny because, you know, like, again, it's like Robbie asks you about still game, and then the waiter asks you about Rangers or Celtic, and that kind of cracks me up a little bit. And you know, it's those little throwbacks to your, you know, when we talked about like things that you miss. That's more like it, right? It's little funny things like that that happen, and you just catch you off guard at times. So we've had loads of messages from people that have been staying out here. So that was Kelly. We met up with Luke and his wife, who had moved out to, that was in Ubud, who had moved out to Thailand on a DTV visa. And then they were out here living in Bali for 2 months, 2 months with a rented apartment. And Yvonne and I started looking at like rental prices and things on properties here. There's a couple of villas being advertised nearby. And we had a look at one, and it had the price on it. I think it was like 28 million Indonesian rupee. I always forget that. 28 million in Indonesian rupee, which was £1,000 a month for this like 3-bedroom villa with a pool and all that outside it. I was thinking, does that seem a lot? It's kind of hard to tell. This apartment we are staying in, it was £50 for 3 nights. It was 48 when we first arrived. It's gone up in price a little bit. So that was kind of a little bit interesting. Like I was looking at the prices. Everyone will need to make a nice cup. I'm sorry if that was a difficult conversation to get through. Jay Bennison. Use good insurers. Name one. Name one. Honestly, I don't know if you could pick one out that you would trust these days. Proclaimers. That's been mentioned to us a few times. Somebody in the comments said to me the other day, 500 miles. I was like, oh, we went for a massage. I find these things a bit weird. It's something that I'd look, this is my own hang-ups, right? But see, sitting in somewhere where a woman's sitting rubbing your feet while your wife is sitting next to you getting her feet rubbed, I don't, that's like a weird thing for me. But anyway, we went to the gym the other night. We came out afterwards and there's a spa right next door. And I was like, let's go in, Yvonne. It was about 8 o'clock at night. It's open till 11 o'clock at night. We went in and we had a 60-minute foot massage and it was £4. £4 for a 60-minute foot massage and it was bliss. Like I was walking home afterwards. I'll tell you that, like, see if I ask, like Yvonne's like osteoporosis, right? She's got like brittle bone disease or something. She tries to give you a foot or a massage, right? You'll be like, oh, babes, could you give a wee shoulder rub? She's like, it's as hard as I could go, like that, right? This woman in the massage place was like right in there, right into the foot, doing the whole arch bit and all that. And I've had a sore right foot. She was right in there, cracking the toes and all that, pulling each of the toes. And I'll tell you what was funny about that, right? We're sitting in the massage place and I have to shut my eyes and just pretend I've gone to sleep because I just hate the whole eye contact, right? We're in a row of seats and there's people at the seat in a row of seats in front of us. So you're making eye contact with a stranger while you're getting your feet rubbed, and that's just weird for me. So I'm pretending to shut my eyes and like, oh, I'm falling asleep. And everyone starts laughing. And I'm like, what are you laughing at? And there was a telly on and it was showing you all the Google reviews from the massage place. And it came up a woman from East Kilbride that was reviewing it. And I'm from East Kilbride. I'm born. My ex-resident of East Kilbride. My granddad was the blacksmith of East Kilbride. My dad was always so proud. Like my grandfather, like my dad was one of the first people in East Kilbride. And I was telling Paul and Cheryl today, and Cheryl was telling us that before she met Paul, her boyfriend before was from East Kilbride. So Yvonne's hee-hawing and laughing in the spa about the Google review coming up, some woman from East Kilbride, like brilliant massage, and the two of us are sitting there, having lived in East Kilbride a lot of our lives. But the massage, £4, right? Absolute bargain. So now that I'm over the hump, I'm kind of tempted to go in and just like spend big money, like £12, and be in there all day, get a back feet massage, get the works done. I'm thinking about doing that. Right, what else did I scoot down? Right, what time am I on? 1:15. Right, I'll end on this, right? This is enough. But yeah, Mary, I tell you this all the time, right? And you probably don't, but you're probably like, oh, he's just spinning a yarn. But I think about you all the time because you're always telling me like I said at the beginning of all of this, there are people in the chat here and who watch the videos that I know all of your little kind of stories that you've shared, things that you tell me. And you've always said, you're living vicariously through Yvonne and I travel. So sometimes when I do little shots of like the beach or I make these walking videos, I'm kind of thinking about like people like you who are watching this and going, well, you want to see what the place looks like. So I make those kind of videos. And I know you'd said before, and I was thinking about the price because the last time I told you, you had said, oh, I'd be in there all day. And I was thinking, yeah, I mean, £12 and you could be in there all day. So it was very enjoyable. And the answer to that is no. I mean, that would be awkward with Yvonne sitting next to me. Too far. That's just jokes, right? So we went out for a walk this morning. We got up early. The power was off in this room. So I woke up and all I could hear was like beep. And it was basically the air conditioning clicking in and clicking off and clicking in and clicking off. And it was a power cut. And Yvonne went down and saw there's staff downstairs, right? It's like 4 apartments here and a wee pool outside. Yvonne went down and they were like, "Oh, it's the government. They turn the power off in certain areas at different times. It's nothing to do with us, but we're having power cuts." So we're like, "No worries." So Yvonne came back upstairs and we're like, "Right, let's just go out. Let's go get a walk." So we walked down to the beachfront. It was like 9 in the morning. We just headed off along the waterfront, enjoying the sunshine. I had my top off, right? I know, like, you're I wouldn't walk down a high street here with my top off because it's not respectful, right? I don't wanna be one of those guys in Thailand that's like, top off. On the beach, I think that's acceptable. Bit of sun in the morning, have my top off. There's people out riding their bikes, tops off, right? My top off, and I'm stoating along with Yvonne. And we walked by this little cafe, and there was an old man outside the cafe he's a local, right? It looked like it might have been his cafe, and he's sitting on his phone, and he was watching, I can't say the word because it might get taken down, but PORN, prawn. He was watching that, right? On his phone, full volume, full volume on his phone. And we were walking by, and all you could hear was, "Ah, ah." And I'm looking at Yvonne, and I'm like, "Is this happening? Is he doing what I think he's doing?" Yvonne was like, "Yep, he's doing what you think he's doing." Full volume, BORN, just blasting it out on his phone, not giving a hoot who could hear it, just sitting there like waiting somebody to come and get a coffee from his coffee shop. And I just thought, you honestly, you see all of life when when you've got nothing else to think about. You see all of life play out in front of you, and that was it right there. He must have been about 80 odd. He looked about 80, and he was just like, "Yep, I don't care. I'm just going to sit here on PORN hub and stream this and play it full volume." Not even, it wasn't even like, when you, like, if he had clicked on it by accident and it came on. No, it was like the whole time that we were walking by, you just heard this, like, it would be like this. Anything like that. I hope that came across as well as I thought it would in my head when I decided to do that. Right. I think that's about it. I think that's about all the notes that I've scribbled down for tonight's banter and stories. Hopefully that's been a little bit of fun, a little bit of seriousness, a few giggles, and enough for this live stream. Hello, Paul, mate. How you doing? Nice to see you. Let me see if I can put this up on the screen. Exactly. In public at 9 o'clock in the morning outside a coffee shop. What? Where are people's minds? Where are people's minds? Honestly, wild. Right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, let me also say thanks to everybody that's joined Yvonne's Substack. She's got, like, I think she's hit like 100 followers on her Substack. She's published blog 3 tonight, your time. I'll put a link in the description to this afterwards, and it's in the past couple of videos. But thanks everybody that's gone over to read that. What's really evident to me in that is that I'm always thinking about, like, the money and the finance and, like, making the videos and, like, all of that kind of stuff. And sometimes a lot of that detail skips by. So Yvonne tells a lot of these, like, things that have happened from a completely different perspective, and I read it afterwards and I'm like, God, yeah. So thanks to everybody that's joined Yvonne's Substack, and thanks for supporting her on those first 3 blogs. So I appreciate all of you, and so does she. She shouts thank you from the distance there. I don't know if the way that this microphone's now set up, it picks that up. But thanks. She says thanks, and I'm saying thanks. Right, listen, have a great rest of your evening, everyone. Every Wednesday, I'm trying to do these. This was episode 9. We'll see you next week for episode 10, wherever we are, probably still here. I'll bring a whole list of stories that's gone on, and in the meantime, we'll be publishing a few more videos. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, everything else, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.